Welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Wieme, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spiral Up podcast. I am your host, Dr. Wieme, and today we're going to talk about something that hits really close to home for so many of us ambitious, purpose-driven women. That is control. So a couple of my besties were sitting with me in the hot tub yesterday, and we were having some coffee and some morning mimosas, and the topic of control came up as something that we recognize as something that we see holds us back, but it's really, really hard for us to know how to allow surrender to creep back into our lives and to let go of this need to control everything. It's not the control that I'm talking about where you're trying to keep your kids safe from running into the street, right? We're talking about that deeply wired into your nervous system, disguised as planning, perfectionism, overthinking, people-pleasing kind of self, right? And what's happened is that many of us can relate to this, right? We think that we're being super responsible. We think that we're being organized. We think that we're being on top of it. And that's become part of our identity, is who we think we are, right? But really, really at the root of it, underneath the hood, we're terrified. We're terrified that if we don't hold everything together, then everything is going to fall apart. And that feels unsafe. So this episode is going to kick off a 3-part series that I'm super excited about that is going to be called The Illusion of Control. And today we're going to unpack why you might be addicted to control, even if you're not a type A person. I want to help you understand how trauma can trick your brain into thinking that control is even possible, which is really just our striving for safety. And I am going to help you to understand why letting go isn't just weakness. It's actually the most magnetic, powerful thing that you can do to manifest what you really want. Are you ready? Let's go. All right. So what I want to do next is to drop this little truth bomb, this truth of the hug right out of the gate. So here's the deal. Like, listen up. All right. Control is not clarity. Control is not safety. Control is actually resistance wrapped up in a productivity planner. Ooh, right? Like, I love my planners. But for real, like it's this masking of trying to feel safe. And we've been conditioned, especially as women, to associate with control with power. But metaphysically, in the manifestation world, is actually the opposite. Control says, God, I don't trust you. Control says, my fear has better plans than your divine timing. Ugh, right? So let's get even more honest. Control is often our trauma talking. And if you've been listening, you know that I interviewed one of my mentors, my coach, Dr. Erin Haskell, and she is the beautiful genius behind the E4 trauma method that I use with my clients. And I'm recognizing the power of the trauma response. And it doesn't matter if you had this big traumatic experience, big traumatic childhood, abuse, alcoholism, blah, 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 or it literally just had a normal childhood, but you had certain things happen that created this narrative in your brain that created this sense of how life works and how you fit into it and what you need to do in order to make things work. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say that you grew up in a house that things felt really unpredictable. This creates this trauma response. Maybe you had to walk on eggshells around someone. Maybe you learned early on that if you didn't do it, it didn't get done. Or maybe you were praised for being the responsible one, the strong one. I mean, been there, right? I'm the oldest of 3. I was the one who kicked in when my grandpa got sick and needed a heart transplant. My mom spent about 1.5 years of my childhood around when I was 7th grade
going back and forth to Minneapolis to tend to him, right? And so I had to be the one that cooked the meals, and I had to be the one that made sure that my homework was done and my siblings' homework was done, and I had to be the one to make sure that the house was cleaned up. And so doing all of that, though, like, sure, it created some really great things in me, but it also created things in me that has produce patterns, right, of this need to control and to essentially like give an F where an F doesn't need to be given, right? And so I want us to just acknowledge this. Like, the more we want to invite peace into our lives, the more we want to allow ourselves to vibrate at a higher frequency, because we allow for love, peace, gratitude, freedom to flow in, the less we are, clinching to this need to control, the more we're going to start to enjoy our lives more, the more we're going to start to manifest more, honestly. And that's what I want for all of us. So our nervous system started to associate all those things that I just mentioned by thinking that doing everything that I, need to control will create this sense of safety. And that is literally how I began to be wired, and how many of us began to be wired. And so now we're a grown-ass woman running a business, managing a family, trying to manifest peace and prosperity. But our body still thinks that it has to be in charge of everything to stay alive. Friends, that is not ambition. That is not the badge of honor that we get to wear because we're, badass bitches, right? It's literally just the trauma response that many of us have. It's that survival mode that's dressed in Spanx and lip gloss. And so there's a name for this in the brain science world, and it's called predictive safety. And the brain loves patterns, even unhealthy ones, and because at least they're familiar. So we cling to control because we'd rather feel certain than supported. We'd rather trust our trauma more than trusting our intuition, because that feels shaky and that feels unsafe. So let me give you a real life example. Okay. So one of my clients, I'm going to call her Rachel for the sake of the show, was doing all the things to grow her coaching business, right? So she had the funnels, the freebies, the color coded Asana board, but the money wasn't flowing and her audience wasn't growing. And she came to me and she was super frustrated. And she's like, Lachelle, like, I am doing everything right. Why isn't this working? And that sucks, because when we get sucked into I am doing everything, I'm ambitious, I'm coachable, I'm doing all the things, none of these strategies are working for me, I must suck, right? And I don't want anybody to feel that way, because I felt that way. And so we unpacked it. And it turns out that she honestly wasn't trusting anyone. She wasn't trusting her VA. She was not trusting her audience. And she definitely wasn't trusting God. She was literally holding everything with a white-knuckled grip, afraid to let go of anything because no one would do it right for her. And the truth is that she just didn't feel safe to receive, and her nervous system was still in defense mode. So it makes sense, right, that we aren't hiring the VA because nobody's going to do it right, or we have a hard time delegating, or, we're just allowing this illusion of trying to control everything to essentially burn us out and create this hustle mentality. And then it just sucks us down into more of the vortex of the control and manifestation, because then we just work harder to try to control it, right? So what happened is, once we started to work on regulating her body and releasing some of those old stories around worthiness and control, she was able to let go of half of her to-do list, and she started outsourcing. And guess what? She had her first 20K month within 60 days. Now, that's not because she did more, friend. That's what I want you to understand, is that it's not the doing more, the hustling. That is literally just your subconscious and your trauma response creating this do more control loop. But it was because she was able to finally felt safe enough to surrender and allowed for God to bless her. So here's what most people miss, all right? Control is a frequency. Control is a frequency. If you think about it, the need to control is aligned with the lack, the scarcity, the hopelessness, the distrust at the lower level of that vibrational scale, right? Meanwhile, the life that we want is up here at the higher level, which is associating with love, peace, gratitude, freedom, right? Like, oh, that feels good. That feels delicious. But it's the striving, it's the need to do it all, the need to control everything, to control all the things. I mean, I love her. I talked about my mom in this show, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't listen to it, so I've been safe. But she's been saying for years that she wants a cleaning lady. And I literally just saw an ad for one, or as a post about it on like the local Facebook chat. And I thought about sending it to her. I'm like, no, she's not going to do anything with it, because literally she's afraid of letting somebody in her house and they're not going to do it as good as she does. Right. And I'm just like, you either have to decide, do you want a clean house at 80% of what you would do, or do you want to do it 100%? Like, it's really that simple, but in her mind, like, she cannot let go of that control. So now she's frustrated. She keeps, complaining every time she has to clean the house. She doesn't get cleaned as often as she'd like, all of the things, right? Like, we sabotage ourselves for this need to control. So it says, like, the control part is like, it's a frequency, like I said, and it repels what we're trying to attract. And so it really says to the universe, like, I don't trust you. I'll do it on myself. I need to be the one who decides how these miracles show up. And remember that when we talk about the manifestation equation, the fourth step is to take aligned, inspired action, but doing so with releasing the how, releasing the outcome, just allowing. And so we are so caught up in the control of the controlling the outcome and doing more and what can I adjust and all the things, like, we're not surrendering. I'm not saying to not do anything. I'm not saying not to analyze things and to look at strategy. That's not what I'm saying, but it's the energy behind it. It's the strife. It's the pressure that is creating this angst, and that's preventing you from manifesting. So we wonder then why we feel unsupported, unseen, and exhausted when we don't allow for the miracles to show up. We don't allow for our ability to receive the help that we want. And we keep complaining about it. We keep taking ourselves down the lower vibrational scale. Surrender, though, on the other hand, it says, I'm available. I trust. I believe. And I know, God, that you know the best way. That's when things start to move fast. That's when the right people show up. That's when God starts putting little divine breadcrumbs in front of you that feel almost too perfect to be a coincidence. But you cannot get there by white-knuckling this. You get there by letting go, not as a strategy to get what you want, but because you finally believe that you're safe without the hustle. I can tell you that I can help you manifest consistent 20K, 10K months without overthinking and without burnout. But if you are so caught up in this feeling of control and you can't trust anybody, including me, guess what? It's not going to happen. And I want you to imagine yourself, holding your hands out and somebody placing some sand in the palm of your hand. Now, if you hold your hand out and you allow your palms to be outstretched, the sand's going to stay there. You're going to have everything that you're meant to have. But the moment that you squeeze your fist closed, all of a sudden, what happens? That sand starts to pour out your fingers and around your fingers and your hands onto the floor. By you white-knuckling it, by you allowing that death grip, you are literally causing things to be not only received, but you are also losing things because you're squeezing the life out of them. So I want all of us to recognize that there's nothing wrong with you. Like, all of us have things that can hold us back. But once you know better, you do better. And so I want you to start thinking about this and allowing yourself to have some reflection time. Okay. So control isn't clarity. It's resistance. Control isn't clarity. It's resistance. And you're resisting the miracles. You're resisting the flow. You're like saying to crush the turtle, no, thanks. No, thanks. I don't want to get into the EAC and it shoots me right into Sydney. I'm just going to keep swimming, just keep swimming until I get there, which was never going to happen. Right? Control isn't clarity, it's resistance. You are resisting the miracles. If you're struggling to manifest, look at where you're clinging. Now, this is literally a great example of the law of sacrifice in action, because law of sacrifice says that we have to be willing to give up the good for the great. Sometimes the good is feeling the safety of the control. But when we release and let go and receive, oh my gosh, like, it's amazing what happens. Healing your nervous system is a spiritual practice. And I'm going to talk about this in future episodes of just like what my routine is every day, because my friends ask me that. They're like, how is it that you have allowed yourself to surrender and you trust and you're not stuck in this control cycle as much and all the things? And gosh, like, thank you to them for like seeing something in me that made me feel good. But I also recognize that we all can have it. We just have to weave it into our everyday. We really do. And healing your nervous system has to be a spiritual practice that you weave into your life. All right. I am going to offer you guys a gift right here on the show, because one of the tools that I use for myself as part of my routine every single day, and my clients use this, is a voice activated nervous system regulator. So what it does is it allows me to analyze. I speak 10 seconds of my voice into this program. It analyzes my voice and can tell me the 3 emotions that I'm currently overexpressing. I'm out of range, like heightened emotions, versus the one that I have been repressing or shoving down for greater than 2 years. And then it gives me a prescription of music to listen to that allows for those out of range emotions to come back into harmony and balance. I'm regulating my nervous system literally with 10 seconds of my voice at a push of a button. And then I just listen to this music while I pray, while I cook dinner, while I get ready. It just weaved into my normal everyday life. So I'm going to give you guys a very special link that is going to give you a massive discount on your very own voice analysis. It's going to be a game changer for you. And I'm so excited to see what this can do for you. So go ahead and make sure that you check that out in the show notes. And I just want to just remind you too, that you don't have to have it all figured out. Okay. You don't have to have it all figured out, but when we know better, we do better. And so I want you to just start thinking about yourself and where am I holding on to control? Where have I recognized some patterns in my life that have led me to believe that this is the only way it has to be? And I'm going to just let you call out your butts, right? And so once we recognize a butt, we can put a crack in that butt by recognizing what truth really is. And the truth is that God's got you. The truth is that when we surrender and allow for things to just be the way that they're designed to be, always for our good, you're going to literally experience miracles left and right. All right, you guys, I cannot wait to dive into the next 2 episodes of this series on control. And let's get us back into like manifesting with flow and ease and joy. How about, okay? Sound good? All right, you guys, I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
So much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to iam-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, log into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.